Welcome to the She Wins podcast. I'm your host, Heather Sumlin. And today I have Megan Pintell. She is an influencer. She was second runner up to Miss North Carolina, and she is going to talk to us about social media. She's going to talk to us about why she participated in Miss North Carolina and so much more. Enjoy. Megan, I'm so excited to have you join me today. How have you been?
I've been good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. 2025 is going pretty good, so I cannot
Yes.
complain. Can't complain. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
So I'm Megan. I am a full-time content creator on social media. I have Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it pretty much. And my husband and I work together full time. I'm pretty much traveling around North Carolina, which is where we're based, and doing a lot of different content, local businesses, different brands, things like that on my page. So it's a lot of reviews and lifestyle content.
How did you get into it? I always find this fascinating. Everybody wants to be an influencer, it seems like, and then here you are, you have hundreds of thousands of people who follow you, but it wasn't always like that. So take me back to the beginning of your journey.
Yeah, so I would say it started after I graduated college. I graduated in 2019 with a degree in graphic design, minor in advertising and PR. And right after college, pretty much like 6 months later, my now husband and we moved to Houston, Texas, and I worked at a boutique doing social media for them. I've always been interested in social media. I've always been a creative person. And so it was kind of like a fun little job there, but I ended up getting laid off because that was around COVID. And so during that time, I was thinking about starting a blog, which is my original idea. And that pretty much failed. And then getting laid off from that job, I ended up just kind of posting on TikTok places that we like to go visit. We were new to Texas, and so it was just something that was like fun for me to talk about, trying new places, things like that, because it was a whole new area for us and we had no idea like where anything was, not a lot of connections in the area. So after posting a few things on TikTok, I ended up going viral, and then I got connected with a content creator in Texas after I got laid off, and I ended up working with her doing social media management for a lot of different restaurant accounts. So I kind of got to learn a lot underneath her and managed 10 plus different accounts at the same time, going to different food shoots, things like that. So I kind of got into this niche of food content, which was very relatable for a lot of people. It was fun to do, and we liked going and trying different foods. So that's kind of how I got into it. And then I started posting on my own page not long after that, and just continuing posting on TikTok.
And then what led you to North Carolina?
So at the time, my husband, well, we got married in Texas, and then he worked a really weird job schedule where he was away 2 weeks at a time on an oil rig, and it was not really the lifestyle that we wanted to live. We wanted to work together and build a business of some sort. We didn't really know what exactly, but he ended up finding a random job in commercial roofing in North Carolina, and we visited the area and we loved it. And I've always gone to North Carolina growing up. We used to go to Holden Beach with my family, and so North Carolina was always like a special place for me, and it was exciting to for the opportunity to get to move there. So that's pretty much the gist of how we ended up in Raleigh, North Carolina. And when we moved there, there wasn't really a lot of people doing social media stuff. So I basically took everything I learned in Texas and brought it to North Carolina.
And did it just magically start working for you? Like, did you just go, oh, I'm just going to have this social media business and it's just going to work out? Or were there bumps along the way? Like, what was it? Maybe a defining moment in your business?
Yeah, it was definitely a learning process. I took every step of it being like knowing that it's going to take possibly a long time for it to work, and also that it's a learning opportunity. So it was not an instant like successful career. Here I started out at like 4,000 followers that were just, personal friends and family on Instagram. And when we moved to North Carolina, I decided I'm going to take my Instagram and turn it into basically my account now, my lifestyle reviews, things like that. And I thought in my mind, like, eventually Matt and I can work together full time. That was kind of our goal. and just to also have a creative outlet and, be creative. That's something that I was really passionate about. And so I thought it was going to take like 5 years. Like that was like 5-year plan. I'm going to be consistent with it, continue getting better every time. It's like every piece of content was like a project. So I could think about how I wanted to create that piece of content, continue getting better over time, and go from there. And since North Carolina was such a new market, there was not a lot of people doing content there. My content actually very quickly started to grow. So a year later, Matt was able to quit his job full time, and we were both able to work together full time. So in a way, it was like a fast track to success, but also there was a lot of learning and things like that that happened within that year prior. It was a lot of him working full time, me working at home, still doing the accounts remotely, and then also on the weekends and like evenings, we were just going to these restaurants, trying to get as much content as possible, not getting paid for it, or maybe not getting paid a lot for it. And all of our free time was spent trying to create content and to like just start growing my platforms. And so it was a lot of work behind the scenes, a lot of learning ins and outs of business, learning negotiation, learning how to, read contracts and write contracts and talk to business owners. Also the editing process. I edit all of my content and the creation and all of that. So it's been a lot of work. It still is. It's a constant learning process because you can't ever be complacent in social media. You have to always continue evolving your content, continue learning along the way. So it's exciting. It's like, to some people, I may have made it, I have over 300,000 followers on my accounts, altogether, but for me, it's just the beginning. So yeah.
Ooh, okay. So is there a place that you have yet to review that you really want to go to?
Oh, yes. A lot of places. There's always new places popping up in the area that we live. So it's always like a constant, oh my gosh, we have to go do this. We have to do that. You should see my Google Maps. It's full of pins from like all over of places that I want to go to. And we also started doing content kind of like in New York City and DC and those areas as well. We've done some international content. So it's constant, just like, this is a good idea, or this would be really cool to go do. So it's like my brain is always thinking in content wise, like, oh, what could I make a story out of this? Or how could I portray this business this way? And so it's always thinking like that.
So I met you because you decided to compete for Miss North Carolina USA.
Yep.
And then you found out about me through Kelly Sabraki, is that right?
Yes, Kelly.
And so we worked together before Miss North Carolina, and I think it's pretty cool that on your first try in a USA competition, as a married woman, not having done it before, second runner-up is a really big deal.
It was such an experience. And so this was my second pageant ever. First time competing in North Carolina. I did compete in Ohio.
That's
in
right.
college.
Yes,
yeah.
I remember that.
Which I had no idea what I was doing at the time. That was my very, very first pageant. And I did it on a whim when I was in college. I just honestly did it. I was like, oh, why not? Let me just try it. It might be kind of fun. And I like wore my old prom dress. Like I had no idea what I was doing with like prep or anything, but that's where I met Kelly. And we still continued to, she was super nice during that pageant, and I didn't know anyone. So we continued to like stay in touch over the years. And then when Miss USA changed the rules for competing as a married woman, I thought, why not give it a shot? So here we are a few months after that happens, and I got second runner up, and it was such a great experience. It really put me out of my comfort zone. Even though I do kind of like unusual things for my job all the time, I'm always talking to people, always, putting myself out there out of my comfort zone. But for this, I'm much more of an introverted person, I guess you'd say, even though it doesn't look like it on social media. So getting up on stage and doing something that I am not typically involved in, that kind of world, like I didn't know anyone prior going into the North Carolina pageant. It was definitely something that was, it was nerve-wracking for me to do, but it was nice to be able to just like drop that fear and just go for it. And I did a lot of research ahead of time, which is how we got connected, and a lot of prep, and it really, really did pay off. So it was a great experience.
So there's a lot of people that are probably listening to you thinking, wow, I'd like to have 300,000 followers on my social media accounts. What on earth do I need to do? So do you have any tips for people who want to do content or want to be a content creator, but they don't really know where to start?
Yeah, there's a few tips. There's a lot of advice I could offer, like honestly, hours worth. But if I had to knock it up to just a few things, I would say some of the most important things are consistency. So, whatever you're doing, do something that you're passionate about and be consistent with it. It's not going to happen overnight. Really, you just have to like post every single day if you can, or every other day. Just make a schedule for yourself that you can really be consistent with it. And to then just also pick whatever niche that you're going to talk about, make it relatable for other people. So there's a lot of different hobbies out there, a lot of different, things that you could create content on. You could create content on anything, but just making sure that it resonates with other people, it has a purpose to it, and it gives somebody value. So you want to make content that you yourself would see watching it. So like I try to think of that whenever I watch content. I'm like, why am I watching this piece of content? Kind of dissecting that backwards and thinking of the psychology of it. And I want to create something that somebody else would want to watch, somebody else would connect with, resonate with, and just keeping it within that niche that you pick so that people know what to expect whenever they come to your page.
So you don't want to have a hodgepodge of so many different things. You'll
Yeah,
confuse people.
exactly. And a lot of people think, well, why not do something like that? Because there are a lot of like lifestyle vloggers, people like that that create kind of content on everything. But at the same time, it's still niche down because usually when you start, you have one niche of some type of thing that you're talking about. And then when people get to know you more and resonate with you, then you can start kind of branching out from that and just, yeah, keep it consistent, keep it entertaining. It's all about entertainment. It's about connecting with others. That's a main thing as well.
So what would your followers be shocked to know about you?
Um, Recently, I I think people were surprised to find out that I actually play a lot of video games. And if you can see behind me, this is like my PC setup that we built. So that was like a kind of like an interesting hobby that maybe people don't see, as well as the pageantry. So whenever I started talking about pageantry, people were surprised to know that like I was trying that, even though I'm not a pageant person. I haven't done pageants really in the past. It was like just a new hobby that I just decided to do. Um, it was shocking to people, but also interesting. People were able to relate to it. There's been a lot of my followers saying like, "Oh, I competed in this pageant in the past," or "It was so fun watching your journey," even though I don't have an audience that was expecting that. So that was fun for me to be able to talk about that and relate to other people.
And I feel
And then
like
recently with the gaming stuff, that's been a new thing that I've been able to talk about.
when you posted, when you shared that you were going to do the pageant, you got a lot of positive response. I feel like your comments were, what, 98% positive, if not more.
Yeah, they were very. I was honestly surprised with how well people took that because I didn't know what to expect at all, and it's hard for me to really open up on social media or really to you know share personal things. Even though I share a lot of stuff, it's very particular on what I do share, and so being able to open up about me competing and possibly getting mixed opinions or people that don't agree with it. It was nice to be able to see the tremendous support that I was getting from my audience, and also to then, when I did compete, to be able to meet other people in pageantry and then connect with them even after the pageant, which has been really nice.
So, one of the questions I always ask is, how do you define winning?
Not giving up. That's the biggest thing because although I didn't win, um, getting second runner up was amazing. And my goal was top five. Of course, my goal was to win, but getting top five for that was honestly like just amazing to be able to complete that goal. But the main thing is just to not give up, because no matter how many times you do something, maybe you don't place where you want to, or whatever project you're working on, if you don't give up, you just get better every time. And it's all about the steps forward, taking action, and just being consistent with everything that you do in life, whether it's social media or pageantry or any type of hobby, or even just, being consistent on getting out of bed in the morning and eating healthy. It's like just that consistency and taking those steps forward is so important. And that's really when you win for yourself.
Has there been any advice that you've been given along the way that's made a significant impact on you?
I would say thinking of life where you aren't just like looking for that end goal or looking for that accomplishment and like thinking of life and accomplishments, but thinking of life as though it's every step of the way, because that's really when you're living life. You're not living life on like the basis of holidays or birthdays or getting that promotion or accomplishing that specific thing. It's all about the process of getting there. And that's the most important thing, because if you think of life as just specific events, it's going to go by so quick. But if you think of it as though every single day is an opportunity to get better, an opportunity to learn, to take a step towards those goals, that's really where you're living.
Well, you see, okay, but you have a really cool life because you literally get paid to experience new things and share it with the world. I mean, it's really a cool experience. I don't know how much that'll change over time, but that's a really cool experience. So, but you work with your husband. So I have to ask this because I can't imagine spending every day. I mean, I love him. Don't get me wrong. Love my husband. He's great. He's awesome. I'll keep him. But I don't know that I could literally work with him every single day. So what's the secret to that? And is there anything that you have learned along the way as far as communication and things like that that would help other people that might be in a similar situation?
Yeah, definitely. We get that a lot. People always wonder, like, how do you make that work? To be honest, a lot of our relationship was very long distance. He was 2 years older than me in school as well. So he was gone a lot of the time. And with his old job, he was gone a lot of the time. We went through a lot of difficult times in our relationship. And I think that really is what has gotten us to be really close. And ultimately, I mean, it's cheesy, but he's my best friend as well. So that like really helps. It's exciting to get to work together on our goals and to be able to just live life in a different way. It's different than how people typically do things, but we both are that kind of personality. We like to do things a little different. And so it's just fun. Yeah, it's challenging. Like there's a lot of communication that needs to happen. And you just have to be super open with communication all the time. And that's really a way to work through any type of problem. It's just by open communication.
So how do you handle the hard days?
Just getting through it one step at a time. I mean, there's some days where, we're extremely exhausted or we don't feel like doing the things that we set out to do. And to not be so hard on yourself, that's a big thing. People tend to get, caught up in like, oh, I have to do this specific thing or I have to make this routine work. And we're still figuring it out. We're trying to set like just a consistent sleep schedule, and it's very difficult, but it's one of those things you have to just, work at slowly, and don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be so hard on others, because, ultimately you're doing the best you can and they're doing the best they can. So it's just about trying to figure it out together.
Having been second runner up, is another pageant in your future?
I don't know. We'll see. I've been asked that a lot, and I'm not sure yet. I'm not putting it out of the options, but I'm also not committing to a yes, so we'll see.
Okay, so stay tuned. We'll have to check that out later.
Stay tuned.
Okay, you mentioned earlier, and I meant to jump on it, so I'll jump on it now. You said something about gaming. So what are you doing with the gaming now?
So I actually just launched some new social media channels specifically for that. And the goal there is to kind of get people to get to know us a little bit more. We're going to start streaming as well. We just haven't fully set it up yet. But I started launching my new channels, which you can find on social media. It's under my profile for my Instagram. It's Megzy Gaming is the accounts. But I am at a cumulative of, I think, almost 9,000 or around 9,000 followers. I just launched it in January 15th. And I wanted to grow a community specifically towards that because it's not really something I can talk about on my main pages. But it is something that we do a lot of the time when we are home, like when we're not traveling, when we're not going and trying all these places, we like to stay at home and be cozy and play games together. That's just one of our hobbies that we have. We don't really watch a lot of like TV shows or things like that. It's usually we like to, you know, play games together. It's just something I grew up doing and something he grew up doing. So to get to do that together has been a lot of fun, and we want to share that hobby with other people who maybe have the same interests and people that are interested in tech. It's the new world that we live in with, a lot of the tech that's around and PCs and things like that. It's just it's fun to be able to build another community that's based around that.
I think it's kind of cool that you have so many different ways that people could follow you for different reasons. So you're taking your passion and you're turning it into profit, which is really cool. And a lot of people would love to be able to do that. And it sounds to me like what you're saying is if you love it, you're consistent with it, and you keep pushing forward, maybe it will become profitable.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, life is about just doing what you're passionate about. That's it. Like, I have a lot of different hobbies, a lot of different passions, and it's about not only being able to share that with other people, but then being able to make money from that too. Then you enjoy everything that you're doing in life. And maybe you like baking stuff, so then you work in a bakery and you're able to bake cool things all the time. It's whatever passion it is, but being able to do that as, what you do in life is just really neat because we have to work, and work is a big part of everyone's life, but being able to have fun with it at the same time and enjoy every step of the way is something that, I was really passionate about.
Well, I have enjoyed getting to catch up with you. I'm so excited for your future. If you live in the North Carolina area, or apparently DC, New York, or anywhere around the world, you should follow Megan. It's Magnolia Megan on Instagram. What's your YouTube channel?
It's also Magnolia Megan.
Okay. And TikTok too? Is it the same?
Yep. TikTok's the same. Yeah.
Awesome. So follow her, especially if you want really cool ideas of things to do, places to go, because she's already been there and she videos it and she shares the review, and then you get to go and experience it for yourself if you want to. So Megan, thank you so much. I enjoyed working with you in preparation for Miss North Carolina. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk to my Patreon members next. So if you're not a Patreon member, I highly recommend that you join She Wins Solutions for Pageantry Patreon, because I'm going to pick Megan's brain on what are the things that she did to help her land in the top 5 on her first try in North Carolina.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.